The more we discuss the stigma, then the stigma can fall away. There's nothing wrong with you if you can't get pregnant. There's just some things we need to learn, to understand, to grow with. And this is why we've created the Melbourne Fertility Expo. I felt so alone. I just didn't understand how I could fix some of my problems. Where would I have to go? Who would I have to know? And there was so much I just felt like I didn't know. It's like I fell my way through my 10 years. And so this is why we've created this.
We're live with Liz Walton. Liz, welcome to the Unplugged Podcast, episode number 58. Guys, we're without Connor this week. He's off with his beautiful family on a little long weekend away. But I have been lucky enough to be joined by Liz Walton, one of the Australia's leading fertility coaches and emotional therapists with over 25 years of experience in the health and wellness field and a decade specializing in fertility. Drawing from her own 10-year fertility journey and 6 failed IVF cycles before conceiving naturally at 46, Liz brings deep empathy and lived understanding to her work. Her integrative approach blends modern science with emotional and energetic healing through modalities such as hypnotherapy, EFT, timeline therapy, and family constellations. As the founder of the Australian Fertility Summit and co-host of the Home of Fertility podcast, Liz recognized for her compassionate, holistic, and empowering philosophy that helps women and couples move from stress and struggle to calm, clarity, and confidence on their fertility journey. Liz, great to have you back on the podcast.
Oh, Kallum, so lovely to be back here chatting with you again. And thank you very much for having me.
It's always a pleasure. We've had so many lovely chats over the years. I think we've known each other now for nearly 10 years, maybe more. And it's just been amazing because even at different points through my journey of going through, finding my beautiful wife and then talking about having babies, you were always a great person that I always felt quite comfortable to speak to about these types of things. I wondered if, we could remind the audience, for those of you who didn't see the last podcast, remind the audience a little bit about your journey, how you came to be so interested in this particular field, because it is very niched. And, what is a fertility coach and why would I get one? Because it does seem like, the traditional routes of getting IVF and those sorts of things are very common. It makes sense. We understand the reasons behind that. But where does a fertility coach come in and what's their purpose for that position along the journey?
Okay, there was a few questions there. So we'll start with a bit of my journey and then me getting into coaching and then why that would be good. So my journey was, it took me a while to find a man of substance. So I was about 35 when we got married. So I was already considered, a bit older as a mum. And the assumption is I'd just get pregnant. But unfortunately for me, it did not happen. And as we're now aware, 1 in 6 couples are struggling with fertility. So I ended up having a 10-year fertility journey. I like to say fertility instead of infertility because I feel our body knows, and it's just looking at, this is where the coaching part comes in, looking at what are the blocks, what's not working. So I had 6 IVFs, all of them were unsuccessful, and it was an extremely emotional, bumpy, huge, lonely journey for myself. And for me, I had to let go. I had to, for my sanity, let go. And then I did a lot of work on myself to be happy with that. My sister-in-law had fell pregnant, first time IVF with a donor sperm. And it was, the emotions just killed me. But I knew, I can't be upset because she's only managed to do what I couldn't. And there's no point having all these emotions because it's not who I am. So I did a lot of work on myself to let go. And really, it was several years after that I fell pregnant naturally. It was quite a shock because I couldn't believe I'd done so much work on myself to be, clear. I don't have to have babies. I am the child. I can do whatever I want. So it was really difficult to comprehend that I actually was pregnant and ended up having a beautiful daughter at the age of 46. And because of this, it gave me a wonderful blueprint because of so much, everything went wrong. I was told, even when I was pregnant, that she wouldn't be viable. So that was another very deep spiritual journey. So I then was able to, how can I support others? And a girlfriend of mine said, I think you should niche here, Liz. I was like, do you think so? She went, yes, I do. So that's what I did. And so what I do is I support people with unexplained infertility, when we're keep trying and it's not working, there's can't find anything wrong with you, but what is there? So I like to say that I look at the scars that don't show up under the microscope, the things that have emotionally impacted us. And, our mind and body connection is such that whatever's going in the mind, our body is just a mirror and representing that. So if we're in high stress, high trauma from things that have happened and our beliefs, our body is saying it is not safe. And we need to feel safe to get pregnant, So I work in that area of emotions and what are those layers that may be going on that can be an unconscious block. So some of my clients have had alcoholic parents. Maybe there's been trauma. Maybe there's been abuse. And again, it's all how we see it for our body. And so that's where, whether you might call a fertility practitioner might be better than a coach. I don't know. Coach is a big word these days. But really supporting a lot of my clients to find, as you said, clarity, peace, ease. And it's amazing how that can be such a big difference in the body. That whole thing of, when I give up, I get pregnant. And we see that where couples get pregnant, maybe first time they've had an IVF, and then they give up and then they get pregnant naturally. It's amazing what stress does on the body. And when we're looking a different way and not focusing on all of the different things, I need finances, I need my job, I need to, I've got to go through IVF, I've got, what's wrong with me? All of these nuances of layers of stress have a massive, massive impact on the body. Now, Mr. Kallum, I don't know what's happened, but I can't hear you now, so I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
I'm back. I muted myself before. There was a little bit of background noise. So
that's okay.
One of the reasons I love that story, and I've heard it a number of times now, and it puts a smile on my face every time, is because it's a story. It's very much a story of hope. And I think, being 40 now, my wife's 39, about to turn 40 next month. We have a lot of friends that have, left getting pregnant to their later years. Yeah. And because of that, I say because of, I don't really know if that's the reason why, but I assume that that's part of it, that they're starting to, have trouble and have to go down the IVF route. And I feel like when people go down that route and it doesn't work, like you mentioned, they feel like that's the only option that they have, and that there isn't another path or that there isn't another thing that they should be considering. And your story and the service that you do actually sheds a light that there is maybe another way that you could approach this. So is it something that is the coaching that they get, is it kind of when they've run out of options after the IVF, or is it something that they could be supported through IVF, or is it something that they could even do before IVF? When does this type of coaching come into play?
Oh my goodness. I think this type of coaching comes into play in all of those sequences. But if people can do this before, I think it's a real opportunity to understand who the self is. I always say that the gift isn't actually the baby. The gift is we get to come home to ourselves. We get to heal the past. We get to understand what may be some of the patterns that aren't supporting us, that could be toxic or unhelpful. We get to, create new tools and techniques that support us. We learn to be more resilient. It's a tough path, the fertility path. And I always say it takes us down to our core. But the wonderful thing about going down to our core is we get to rebuild ourselves like the phoenix coming out the fire to the person that we really want to be. So, if we look at some of the stats, so 1 in 6 couples have fertility issues. 1 in 3 of them can be from male fertility issues. 1 in 8 people, more women obviously, have endometriosis. 1 in 10 have polycystic ovaries. In Australia alone, the fertility rate is falling quite dramatically. Men's fertility is having more of an issue these days. We've got microplastics, our immune system issues, our health is really challenged more and more these days, and yet we're more aware of stuff. It's quite interesting. So it's amazing we're alive at all and we get born. We are literally miracles.
It is a
So
miracle.
the more we can understand the mind-body connection for health and healing, fertility is just part of it. Fertility is about our body having an abundance and being fertile. It's not just when we want to have a baby. The more we can have the best mindset for ourselves, it's going to help when we decide that it's time to have a baby. And it will help so much when we may be finding we have troubles having a baby. And it will help a lot when we're pregnant, as well as, postpartum, just after having a baby. And it allows us then to become the best parent and individual that we can. So helping ourselves within the mind-body connection to be the best version is without a doubt the best thing we can do.
You've mentioned the mind-body connection a number of times. I'm interested to know, because there's been a lot of work done on this. There's lots of studies done on this, and I watch a lot of the people like Andrew Huberman, professor at Stanford, and a number of other
he's
people.
Lovely, isn't he?
He's fantastic. Dive into this stuff. Can you just I know that it's hitting the mainstream now, but can you just explain for those people who are listening that may not really understand what you mean by the mind-body connection, and then also how the mind can impact whether or not we are able to get pregnant?
For sure. So there were studies done at the Mayo Clinic, and you can Google this all. So in the Mayo Clinic, they were saying with couples and women that were having fertility issues, the couples and women that chose to do a mind-body work, so looking at meditation, looking at things that would help them feel better, looking at things that help bring down the nervous system, create peace, they had a higher rate of getting pregnant, 52 to 55% more benefit to getting pregnant than if they did not look at a health and healing space that helped them to move forward. Alice Domar, she's an American lady, and she works a lot within helping create spaces where the mind and having new tools and techniques can support the body with getting pregnant. So when we are in high stress, our body produces a lot of cortisol and adrenaline. Which is great if we're running away from that saber-toothed tiger. But it's really difficult, because this day and age, our saber-toothed tigers can look very differently, can't they? They can be our boss. Right. They can be how we represent sometimes our partners. It can be work. It can be the stresses of, the thoughts that we're saying to ourselves. What's wrong with me? I'm rubbish. Why can't I have a baby? All of these produce a lot of stress. As opposed to when we are comfortable, we're feeling safe, we are in an environment where we are relaxed, we are producing, the chemicals that allow our body to ovulate, have a wonderful cycle. We need our progesterone, our estrogen, and some testosterone, but we can't produce it all at the same time. Hence, when we're in high stress, for whatever reason, especially if we may be going through IVF, especially if we're working really hard because we have to make sure we're working so that we can afford the IVF, it's really difficult to produce both. Your body finds it difficult. So by having tools and techniques, whichever they may be for you, learning about EFT, which is known as tapping, but it's different tools. Maybe it's meditation, maybe it's doing yoga, maybe it's present moment awareness, maybe it's just remembering that I need to breathe 5 beautiful deep breaths that will help my nervous system to calm down. Maybe I need some different tools, different somatic tools, and swaying just to help my body to remember that it's alive. Maybe I need to slow down. There's all sorts of different tools, because when we feel calmer in our mind, our body's like, yes, I'm here,
Right.
So, and I was talking to an amazing, another lady. She's a counselor, psychologist. She's also going to be at our Melbourne Fertility Expo. And 57% of couples and women will stop their fertility journey because emotionally it's just too much and they feel they don't have the support. And so by learning new tools, new ways, going out there and finding the support, we are able then to move forward. And this is the stress of life without even bringing in fertility issues can be quite phenomenal. And remember, the brain, cannot tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined. So if we're thinking that, our body is sending off, a biological release, as if it's happening, a neurological release as well, as if it's happening, even though we're just thinking about it. It's, our body and mind are really quite phenomenal. So, the opportunity to find something that works for the individual, and for all of us, it's different, that can support calmness, peace, the understanding of self, healing the past, coming to forgiveness, or whatever it might be, can absolutely have a massive impact on our body to conceive and allow us to be as fully fertile as we can.
Yeah, it sounds like the two, whether someone's deciding to or about to go on an IVF journey, that the coaching can support that process dramatically. Because I could imagine, and by the way, my partner and I conceived naturally, so we didn't have to go through this. But I could imagine, just from speaking to a number of my friends who have gone through it, as time goes on, and if you have failed attempts, then that stress could elevate even further. And then, the hyper focusing on the fact that the result isn't being obtained and you're not able to have a baby again could elevate those cortisol levels, the stresses and the unrest that's going on inside the body. So what you're saying is, with the coaching, it's allowing people to return to that parasympathetic nervous system state, to feel calm and relaxed, even whilst they're going on this quite, serious and big journey that they're on.
Yeah, I mean, the fertility journey, as in the journey in life, it's a bumpy ride sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's how to learn to traverse that in the best way possible, build resilience, build understanding. The more we can understand ourselves, the more we can sort of walk our path in the best way possible. And I was going to say something and I suddenly forgotten what that was. The more we can help ourselves to be the best version of ourselves, I think then we can show up and walk that path in the best way. Oh, now I've remembered. So a lot of women, not all women, but a lot of women, where, especially this day and age, I think men and women have got such a tough time, who are we? Who is a man, and who is a woman these days? Because women now are really career driven, and we can be in our masculine side. Men are, again, who are those healthy masculine men? And I think we can all get lost in who that is anymore, and
the roles have definitely shifted and
the lines are blurry as well.
Yeah.
We're trying to show up to be the best version of ourselves, and sometimes we don't know what that is. And I know, like, I'm coaching,
and it's funny. One thing sorry to interrupt, but one thing I've noticed too is, as those lines get blurred, the interactions between the masculine and the feminine start to fishtail a little bit, because it's interesting to watch, even in dynamics between couples, when there are two kind of very strong leaders within that union, and one, they're both really career driven and professional, it can kind of have this kind of strange moment where it's like who is taking the lead in these situations.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
Yeah, and when women are highly driven, which is nothing wrong with that, but I know for some of my clients, they're doing excessively well, very career driven, high end, and they come to me and go, I need to, I need to look at my stress levels and all of these things. Oh, and I want to have a baby, and so
yeah.
when there was
I want all the things, all the ones, all
yeah,
at once.
yeah. And when we're in that, we are also, because we all have the energies of masculine and feminine, without a shadow of a doubt. And
Within
in a way,
us,
it's a funny word. It should be apples and oranges, because it's not that one's male and one's female. These are just sort of energies within the self. It's like the doing self and the self that feels good, And so when we are just in our doing self, the one that's having to achieve, that's our, in a way, our masculine energy. And I know for a lot of my clients, we've had to learn to step back into the feminine.
Soften.
I had one client, she was gorgeous, amazing, actually striking, beautiful woman, but really at the top of her game and produced no eggs. And so we had to step back and find the feminine. And it was, it was just amazing. She started producing eggs and all of these things. Wow. And it was like mind blowing, because we have to remember who she is, because she's the one that has the baby, and learning to walk slowly and learning to, and she was just like, wow, because she was obviously a beautiful and amazing woman. But when we're in that one energy of just doing, we're not in the energy of creation. It's so interesting, isn't it?
That's powerful. Hey, it's like the environment that you're creating. You've got this natural environment within you, and you have, you can adjust the climate by the states of mind that you get in, the way that you move, and that produces an environment that's either good for fertility or not so. Yeah.
Or going up to, doing everything, babies don't come because I've set
and it goal. Makes sense. Like it kind of makes sense. Like if you were, even if you talk about, back, you talked about the saber-toothed tiger before, like even women back in that time, if there was some sort of upheaval or a big, some sort of earthly catastrophe, maybe an earthquake or a hurricane or something like that, you would expect the body to not necessarily think that that's a good time to have a baby or bring a baby into the world, because it would add an extra element of chaos and uncertainty into your life. So it does make sense that when you find the greener pastures and you are able to sit and smell the roses and enjoy the external, that your body starts to go, okay, well, now's a good time to procreate and have babies.
Absolutely. Like there's African nations, African tribes, I should say, not nations. There's some African tribes where they only have 2 children, because they know if something should happen, they can grab one and the other, and then they can flee if need be. So, and look, also the wild kingdom as well. If there's a lot of threat, they won't. If they're safe, they will. It's absolutely amazing. And women these days are leaving it later because they want to have a job and they want to be able to do well and then have babies. And also, I run a wonderful, Brave Through IVF coaching group with the gorgeous, I don't run it, as Sheila runs it, and I'm part of it. And
Sheila's amazing.
My God, you just gotta love her, haven't you? She's doing so great.
Yeah. I think she's in the US at the moment, or Canada, I think.
Yes, I think so. She may have been back by now. I can't remember. But so we've got some solo mums in there and some women where, it's taken them a while to find Mr. Right. That was me too, and they've had a big career and, now they want to, have a baby. So in this day and age, it's like, we don't have to wait for Mr. Right. Let's go and have a baby, especially because our clock, as in the female body, there is a time when we are allowed to have children. Well, not allowed. We're able to have children. And then, of course, as we go into menopause, then that's, the crossing the bridge to that next time, when we can, choose to do other things. So we have more of that clock sort of, it's known as a clock ticking, but I always like to say, let's step back into having the fertile mindset,
Mindset, yeah. I've never liked that analogy because it
No.
does. The presuppositions of that is that the sands of time are running out type thing, and
Yeah.
and I feel like that in and of itself can create unease and tension.
Yeah.
Liz, I had a question for you as you were talking before. Are you finding that this topic is still a taboo? Because I know that sometimes it can be a tricky conversation to navigate, even amongst friends in private conversations. It was tricky for us, even when we knew that we were pregnant for the first time, and we had close friends that had been on the IVF journey for a long time, and they would come over for lunches and stuff like that. There was a sense of like we need to be really mindful of our excitement and our how joyful we felt in that experience, but also knowing at the same time that they were struggling with it. And I wondered if that's still a taboo, or you're finding there's been a shift in recent times.
Look, I think it's still a massive taboo. It's a huge emotional button. So with the Melbourne Fertility Expo, that's one of the issues that we are doing our best to talk about. It's about the more we talk about it, the more that the more we discuss the stigma, then the stigma can fall away. It's there's nothing wrong with you if you can't get pregnant. There's just some things we need to learn, to understand, to grow with. And this is why we've created the Melbourne Fertility Expo. I felt so alone. I just didn't understand how I could fix some of my problems. Where would I have to go? Who would I have to know? And there was so much I just felt like I didn't know. It's like I fell my way through my 10 years. And so this is why we've created this, is come and have and speak to some of the doctors. We've got several fertility clinics, lots of lovely doctors. We've got some nurses, we have embryologists, we've got other doctors that are for nutrition as well. We've got lots of different types of nutritionists, especially working with inflammation, with endometriosis, with polycystic ovaries. There is, so much goodness on offer. And yet I feel we also, have to let them know you're coming to a place of, we hear you, we see you, but please allow yourself to know that it's okay to step out, because there's so much help and support.
Step out and be seen. I think that would be the hard thing. I'm just mind reading and imagining here. I have literally no experience with this at all, but I could imagine that you talked about it being lonely, and often with that there's associated shame or guilt or not wanting to be seen, like you said, and I could imagine then coming to, and I want to get into the expo in more detail in a minute, but I also want to do a bit of a call out to the men that are listening as well, that may be going through this with their wives. You said statistically it's two out of three times it's things that are happening with the mother or the wife, or it could be, or the partner, sorry, but it could also be the man. If it is more to do with the woman, what can us blokes do to be there, to not make it feel like such a lonely journey, to make it feel like we're in this side by side, hand in hand? What could the guys be doing to show that they're there with them and that they understand, and maybe even take the lead a little bit and bring their wives along to this, suggest that they come along to the expo. And like I said, we'll get into the expo in more detail, but what could the men be doing?
Oh, you beautiful men, you beautiful men. So I think a lot of it is about listening and just saying, a lot of it is the question, what can I do to support you right now? And sometimes it might be just listening to the tears, not needing to fix, and just like, how can I help you, with the question? Because sometimes you can't be helped, but it's just having that other person that will help hold the space, that space of feeling lost and hopeless or broken, And just like how can we walk this path together? Where do we need to go? What do we need to say? And I think a lot of it will be just about being able to listen, supportive words, and know as well, the more that the man can do their sperm test first and get that out of the
Yes.
way and understand, that is going to be awesome. I mean, we
That
have
could be cool, right? Like
yeah,
stepping
yeah,
up and saying, "Hey, I'm gonna check this out. I'm gonna take the first step and see if it's me first to
yeah,
sort of
yeah,
take a little bit of the ownership and the pressure off, I guess.
yeah,
Take
that would be
responsibility for it as well."
absolutely. I mean, we have, we're going to have a male fertility panel. We've got a lovely lady called Sarah Jameson. She's got Cool Beans underwear, born from her own experience. And her knowledge on sperm health is, like mind blowing. She's awesome. And she's created, and it's TGA approved and FDA. So FDA, TGA approved, FDA. So it is a medical device, but it's amazing underwear that will help to keep sperm cool, because sperm doesn't need to heat up. And how that is so important. There's a guy
I
as
feel
well.
like the Cowboys have known this for years, because I remember living up north in Queensland. Most of them wouldn't wear underwear to keep down there cool, and that they would literally say like it. I feel like I keep everything a lot cooler.
Hi there, this is Connor and Kallum from Connekt Coaching. Hope you are enjoying the Unplugged podcast. Nothing lights us up more than seeing businesses thrive, especially in uncertain times. We have 32 combined years of doing nothing but mentoring and training businesses from around the globe in order to increase their revenue and thrive in uncertain times. So what we would like to do is share with you a little bit about what we've discovered over the last 32 years.
We've created this amazing business model called the Forever Business Model, and we want to give it to you for free. All you need to do is jump down into the description below. There's a link there called Steal Our Forever Business Model. Click on the link. There's a 9-minute video that you can watch where we unpack everything you need to know to implement it in your business right away.
Absolutely. And for men's health, it is so important to keep your testes cool, because when they heat up after 10 minutes and even 30 minutes, it starts to change. And also our testosterone levels change, which is really can impact who we are as a man. So I've got a podcast I just did with Sarah, and it's like, wow, I wish I'd known this stuff when we were getting pregnant, because that actually could have really helped us and could have possibly been a key to support us earlier. But nonetheless, all this information is coming out now. There is now a chap, his name is Ash, and he has created a product called Sapien, which is a home test male fertility kit. So it can be as easy.
That's so good. Because I know what it's like to get me to go to the doctors and stuff like that. You never want to knock on wood I don't know, maybe I'm stereotyping, but as a bloke, I feel like we don't like to knock on wood, and we don't, really like to go and get checked up, and especially,
it's huge. It's huge. And, imagine if the guys don't like it, how much the woman, wants it.
I could imagine that would put a lot of pressure on the women, especially if as a bloke, we're saying, no, I don't want to do it. It's like, well, that kind of makes it the problem of your partner, which is quite a load to bear, I guess.
Absolutely. And, once we find out what's physically going wrong or not, then there's things you can tick off. Okay, well, if that's wrong, we can fix it. If it's not wrong, okay, what's the next step? So physically for the woman as well as for the man, and even if you're a same sex couple, it's all about knowing what are the things that we can change and what's in our power of changing. But I mean, speaking to Ash, who created the Sapien, the at-home male testing kit, is phenomenal, and you can get it at quite a few of the chemists as well, the pharmacies, here. And yes, he's going to be on the male kit panel as well. And then we also have a lovely chap called Sam Hargreaves. He had no sperm. He is a sports podcaster, and I love him. He was taking his journey where he just talks about it, and he says it takes balls to talk about male fertility. So he's on our panel, and he's also our MC, and he loves to bring humor and whatnot into it, which I think is great because it is a tough journey, but let's bring some lightheartedness into it. And he's really helping guys, just saying, come on guys, let's do something about this, because he was super fit, really into sports, he should be fine. Yeah, it wasn't happening. And then it wasn't until he took his test and realizing that there was nothing there. So, he shares his story as well. And, so he's doing a lot for the male fertility journey about, let's do something about this, guys. And, they went through IVF. They did a lot of also nutrition. And it's amazing how in 4 months, what can be done to support male sperm.
Wow. It sounds like there's so many levers that can be pulled. I'd love to hear, because it does sound like, because it's taboo and it can be a tricky subject, not just to talk to your friends about and people that are close to you, but also inside the couple, talking to each other about what are some things, you're talking about the expo that's coming up. You had one last year in Canberra. Can you share a little bit about what that experience was like, and maybe some ways the guys can introduce this conversation to the girls about going to Melbourne and going to the expo?
And likewise the other way too. Yeah. It goes both ways, come as a couple, because you're going to learn things you didn't realize you might need to know. You're going to be enlightened on a whole load of subjects. So last year, what did we have that I think was some of the highlights? So we had we had Sheila, who was our main MC. So she was great. She came with her partner and was sharing parts of her stories. We had Elena, and her husband, Nick. They were on the panel, and they just opened their heart. And Nick was saying about how he, even though she may be crying, going, yeah, she doesn't understand, he's there going, well, what more do I have to do? And he goes, I didn't know how to show my emotions. I didn't know. No one's shown me how to show the emotions, but their truth of just being open, like the whole place was like in tears. And a lot of the guys afterwards that I asked, and I was voice taping, they were just like hearing him say how he helped her, and even, not knowing how to do it, and just, his voice, that's how I feel. And it was really good that he could voice that. And then how I needed to just ask now my partner, what can I do? Where do I need to go? What do we need to, how can we move forward, instead of making it's a you and me situation? So that made me understand how much the live panel of the lived experience of people just sharing their journey was so powerful.
Powerful. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've sort of started to sprinkle in some of the key guests. Can you talk about that in a little bit more depth, so that I guess people know what the setup's going to be like? They know, I guess, as they walk in, they know, the format of the day or the 2 days, whether it's 1 or 2 days as well, and also like what they can look to in the schedule that might kind of stand out and be just the information that people need. Because I really think that, by the sounds of just talking to you today and the last time that we spoke, that knowledge is power in this situation.
Yeah.
There are so many levers that you can pull. There are so many things that you can check and make sure of to support you in this journey. So can you talk to us about what's happening next month and where it is and what's happening?
I would love to do that, Mr. Kallum. I would love to. I'd love to. When we feel alone, we tend to shut ourselves out. We move back, and we can think more in our problems, and it can be overwhelming. It can just be so difficult to find out how I'm going to get out of this. And with the Fertility Expo, it's about, let's have a problem. When we share a problem, it's like a problem halved. And when we have this problem in our mind, we don't know how to get out of it. And by coming to the expo and just breathing into that, there is going to be all of this information where you can go, oh, maybe that's going to help me. I didn't realize that problem. And that has a solution. This has created even more answers and questions that help to allow me to feel light. So we are able to come out of our space and realize there is so much new information and new support here. And we've got you. We've got a whole new community of, love, care, and support. So some of the things we're going to be talking about, as I said, endometriosis, polycystic ovaries. We've also got egg freezing information. Let's have a look. We've got a lot to do with stress and how stress affects our body. So that will be the wonderful Liz Bancroft. We've got quite a few nutrition as well. We've got Dr. Cecilia Kittick. She has fertile gut. A lot of amazing gut products, gut healing products, nothing necessarily to do with fertility, just about the more our gut is fertile, the more our health is fertile. And she also does the IVF project. She's going to be talking a lot about inflammation. Inflammation has a massive impact. And again, this is all stuff I never knew. I wish I'd known it. We're also going to be looking at finances as well, super care. We're going to look at how we can support ourselves and accessing our super. We have got, let's have a look, like the behind the scenes in the lab door. So I think that's going to be absolutely amazing. Dr. Sasha from Thrive Fertility. Alicia Burns, solo mum. So, she couldn't find, it's not that she couldn't find a man, she was like, I want to do this and I don't have a man. Let's do it alone. So she is amazing. She's created the Solo Mum Society and just like, let's go. And if we want to have a baby, and all the benefits of that. She's an amazing lady. We've got Lucy Lyons from Two Lines Fertility. So from panic to power, reclaiming your control on the IVF roller coaster. She's an embryologist. Phenomenal.
Wow, this is an all-star cast. This is
yeah. Dr. Amber Keeley, again, navigating your fertility options, looking at a different aspect of egg freezing. Liz Bancroft, why 50% of IVF patients stop treatment. So she really is awesome. Tash Jennings, being fertile over your 40s. She's quite an interesting lady as well. Great nutritionist. Quite a few on male fertility, going through IVF as well as sperm testing. Birth choices. So it's not just about fertility. We're looking at from preconception, fertility, pregnancy, postpartum. And it's about supporting the woman and the couples, and whether they were same sex or not, but supporting everyone through this journey. Okay. Looking at a lot of male fertility outcomes, navigating fertility, empowering you and your options. We've got cutting edge medicine. The pain of fertility and looking at how to manage that. We've got 2 lived experiences as well, lived experience panels. We've got a gorgeous guy called Sean Resnick. He is our first gay man to become a surrogate dad. So he's going to be talking about that as well. We've also got a lady, she's like a surrogate. She's going to be talking, about donor eggs and becoming a donor, going through the donor process as well. Pregactive, so again, looking at supporting you during your pregnancy time, so planning pregnancy, postpartum. Let's have a look. We've also got our beautiful Sarah Roberts. So she's from the Empty Cradle. And so she had her own fertility journey, but it never ended up with a baby. So she's really looking at support and counseling and coaching and just looking at the decisions and supporting everyone through that. Lots of nutrition. We've got a fertility nurse as well. And also 2 nutritionists, Stephanie Valakas and Monique Cormack. They have created their own fertility supplements, which I think is awesome. Wow. So they are nutritionists as well. And then looking at habits and well-being as well. So it is a jam-packed, stunning.
Sounds like you've thought of like an expert for every different type of scenario that people could come across.
I'm hoping so. I'm really hoping so. Look, I'm so passionate about this subject, saying you don't need to do this alone. We've got you. You can come and just hold your partner, or maybe it's your friend, maybe it's your mum, maybe it's a family member, and just come and have a look. You know, you don't need to do anything that you don't want to do, but come and know that you can come with questions, leave with clarity. You know, you can come with, sorry, carry on.
No, I was going to say, so I'm just imagining showing up on the day, and there'll obviously be presentations, there'll be panels like you mentioned as well. Will there also be like stalls or you know, places where you can get direct access to those experts that you're talking about as well?
100%. So my learning from last year is people wanted more of a expo style. So we have 48 different exhibitors. You can come and chat, ask your own questions, have that one-on-one time with each and every one of them. You can actually come and chat to some of the nurses. You can chat to some of the doctors. When do you have this opportunity to do it for $40? Because usually that would cost several hundred. So come and look, so last year I made it a much more expensive ticket, and the feedback was no, you know, with life and with IVF, it's just too expensive. So I've made it rude not to attend, you know, it's $40, come along. And there's still going to be different giveaways, get free tickets, get half price, you know, but it's such an affordable price that it's rude not to come. We've made it so that it's so accessible and easy, and you know, it's filled with so much love for you.
I think even before you start on the IVF journey, it could be a great place to gather information. Like you said, have your questions be answered, or even have your concerns be heard.
Absolutely. If you're even thinking of, you know, maybe it might be time to have a baby, I'm feeling I should have a baby, any of that, come along, because it's going to give you so much information that will allow you to feel empowered and have more knowledge. You know, again, as you say, knowledge is power.
Yeah, it certainly is. Last year, the stories that came out of last year were incredible. I think being in Melbourne as well, it's a much larger hub. I think that's going to be fantastic. You mentioned knowledge being power. I do want to dive into two more topics before we wrap up today, and they're just kind of because I'm curious about it. One is the you know, some of the things that can happen with the male fertility, because I feel like that's not spoken about at all. Like really, the women's fertility seems to have more eyes on it. What are some of the things that the men can be aware of? And also the other one is, because I have a lot of my partner and I have a lot of single female friends.
Yeah.
When should they start thinking about freezing eggs? They're the two kind of things I'd love to get your thoughts on or insights on.
Freezing eggs. So first of all, I need to let everybody know I am not a doctor. Okay, I'm not a doctor. So when it comes to freezing eggs, it's purely just my ideas and thoughts. And I think if you're interested in what to do with freezing eggs, please come along, because we've got quite a few doctors that this is their subject. Okay. Now, I think it's about understanding what's going to be right for the individual and what's going on for them. So I've been meeting a lot more women now that they're super busy. They're not sure what's, you know, they haven't got a partner yet. They're not quite sure what's going on. I'll freeze my eggs now. I never even thought about it in my time. But I also think one of the best things we can do is be a healthy individual. Okay. So I got pregnant at 46, and supposedly, you know, I had a less than 0.5 chance of getting pregnant because of my age. But I know all my 10 years of being so desperately trying to be healthy and all of that, being the right, you know, good health individual, I'm sure, added to that. So the more we can help with any immune disruptors, anything that affects our immune system. And microplastics are literally everywhere. And there's been tests done now that you can find them in semen, you can find them in embryos, on our uterine lining, because they are literally anywhere. So the more we can take on the mission to eat as healthily and as naturally as possible, that's going to help our body and it's going to help our eggs. Okay. So, but I hear from doctors and nurses, if we can freeze our eggs when we're younger, those are going to be the most healthiest of eggs. But really, I think it's about what's going to be the best thing for you, because there are some people that have gone through health issues and so they wanted to freeze their eggs earlier as well. Yeah. But I honestly believe being the healthiest individual, is probably one of the best things we can do for our body and our eggs and our sperm.
Your sperm as well. Yeah, that I guess is a nice segue into the first thing I asked, which was about what are some of the things that the guy should be aware of. You talked about keeping your testicles cool. What are some of the problems that they might have when they do the testing, and what are some of the things that they could mitigate that with?
Yeah, I mean, men's sperm, it's amazing how in 4 months men's sperm can be changed from not being right to being amazing. Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
And also like for men as well, if they've played a lot of sports where there might have been impact in their groin, that can have an effect too. Okay. So, it's just being aware of that. So heat can be a killer. So having, good, as she said, cool beans underwear, being able to have.
Yeah, I love that line. So good.
It really helps. Our testicles nice and cool. I don't mind, but testicles nice and cool, that will support sperm health. And again, nutrition, just really good nutrition is another factor. So if you're smoking and if you're drinking, even smoking pot can have a massive effect. And again, by taking that out, within 4 months, sperm can be, jumping for joy again. Nutrition, wow. Good nutrition can change sperm in quite a way, which is why we've got quite a lot of nutritionists, all specializing in different aspects of fertility and nutrition come along, because just by knowing those few nuances of different things that can support our body for the female as well as for the male can make such a big difference. So by just changing a few little things daily can have a massive impact later. Male and females, this is sleep. It's amazing how good sleep. And again, that's where stress can have an impact, can have a really positive effect, having a good sleep practice, because these days sleep for a lot of us isn't as it used to be. We can have a lot of sleep problems.
We're having a few of those, but they're because of the kids, not necessarily
small people. Yes, yeah. But even before that, stress can have a big impact on how we sleep, and if we don't have good, nourishing sleep, it impacts both the male and the female, the mum and the dad to be.
Yeah. Look, I think that this is such a great event. I think it's great to see your passion and your dedication to this field. Just one last time, can you go over the exact dates, whereabouts in Melbourne it's going to be? What the times are. If you can just give us those details, how much it is. And we'll be able to put the link in the show notes, and also
Sure, I'll send you all of that info. So I suppose I'm asking everybody to open your hearts and come for you. The day is the 8th of November. It's going to be a beautiful Saturday I'm predicting the weather already. It's going to be a beautiful Saturday in Melbourne at Box Hill Town Hall, the 8th of November. It's going to be an amazing big day, from 9 a.m. till 6. We've got several different stages. So if you miss something, don't worry, it's going to be recorded, and all of that will be available, once we've sorted out all the recordings and got it ready, but after the expo. So don't, if there's a few things we're doing our best to try and make everything so it will work for people that like different areas in their fertility path. So it will all be recorded, but there is workshops. There's 4 different workshops. There is 4 different panels. As I said, 1 on fertility, 2 lived experience. And we've got gorgeous, Ileana from Big Miracles will be there, and she'll be doing a meet and greet. So you can come and chat to her, and she loves that. And then there'll be the male fertility panel full of goodness. And 48 different exhibitors, as well as, lots of speakers speaking on every different aspect that I went through before. And this is all for $40. I mean, wow. It is awesome. We wanted to make this so that it was, just an easy yes. I've got to go because I can get all of this. We're going to have loads of food vans and coffee vans outside, because last year I did my best to cater for everybody. And a lot of people were like, we don't want to be catered for.
Yeah.
We want to choose. So I was like, okay, I did not know that. Now I do. So you've got some we've chosen all sorts of healthy food and yummy food.
I admire that you did it again, because like you said, you learned so much from last year, and I could imagine what that would have been like to put that on for the first time. And then, to go round 2, I think, you need to be commended for the dedication that you've put into this. And obviously it's something that you're so passionate about. You've helped so many people through their journeys as well. And I guess it must be a huge joy when you see that little baby, or you hear of the baby that was born, or the smile on the face, or the photo that's sent, via the messages. And I think one big theme throughout this, even though we've only mentioned it once, is this expo does bring hope.
Absolutely.
This knowledge does bring hope for these people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's breaking barriers. Yeah. It's building hope. I know it's new. And I know we're asking you from the deepest part of our heart for you to show up from the deepest part of your heart that feels broken. Help us to fix that, help us, because this is what we're trying to do. So I'm, really sort of asking you to show up and to come. And I know you will come. All of you amazing people will come, and it will help you find clarity and answer to all of your questions, And
I think a really important point you made before was that, it may not be necessarily the person going through it that makes the final decision to go. It might be the mother, it might be the older sister or the older brother or the partner that, guides them there. It might be, even them coming on their own to get the information to bring it back to them.
Absolutely.
Well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And look, because it's in Melbourne and there's a lot of sports stuff going on, come for the weekend, come and do some fun stuff. Come over and see what you want to do for the Melbourne Fertility Expo. Come along, and, you can pack it all in, or come for a nice weekend away and have some time together, as well as go and learn some stuff. And, it's like, come along and make it as another part where you can have some fun, learn something, and have some questions answered. And then you can also have some more fun elsewhere. So you can pack it all in and enjoy, bring your family and friends. You're still going to learn so much just about women's health, men's health. And on that journey, there's a part of fertility as well. It's, come one, come all, really. It's going to be full of good info.
For those people who can't wait for the link and they just want to know what the link is right now, what is the website? Just in case there's people listening that want to just jump straight in and search and get a ticket right now. What is the website for that?
Yeah, so if you go to Australian Fertility Summit, so that was what it was last year, Australian Fertility Summit, and then it proudly presents the Melbourne Fertility Expo. But the website is Australian Fertility Summit, and the ticket link is in there. If you want to get something right now, Australian Fertility Summit, go and you can buy the tickets there. We have a special Loop is doing all of our tickets, so I can give you like the actual ticket link as well, but it's also embedded within the website. But come along, learn, grow, have a lovely coffee and food from outside, come on in, chat to people, have a giggle, have laugh, have cuddles, and know that we've got you in every angle and that we love you and we want to make it easy for you to have all the answers.
Liz, thanks for coming back on the Unplugged podcast. This has been huge for me as well. It's a topic that, you know, I'm not fully aware of, and I feel this has helped me to also, you know, understand what people are going through, what my friends are going through, you know, and be able to have these gentle conversations, because it may start that way. It may start just as a gentle conversation, even if you're not going through it yourself, but it may be that, hey, I heard this podcast, or I heard about this lady called Liz Walton. I heard about this summit, this expo that's coming up, and give people an opportunity to maybe gift them with some hope, and give them the opportunity to go and grab this knowledge from the expo.
I love that, gentle conversations. I've just written that down. Oh, I love it. I love it. Kallum, thank you from the deepest part of my heart for having me today, talking about fertility, talking about life, and the Melbourne Fertility Expo. I'm so grateful.
It's my pleasure. We'll have you back as many times as you want to come back. We love talking to you.
I'll see you next year. Let's see what I've created.
No, yeah, let's do it. Let's keep it going, because I think that this is, I mean, even from my perspective, if I look at it more globally, on a more global level, I you know, there's no doubt now that there is a demographic decline. There's no doubt that we have an aging population, and just from someone that has gone through having 3 beautiful children, and being a parent and becoming a father, and just knowing how magical that is. I want everyone to be able to experience that.
Yeah.
And if there is hope out there for people, I want them to be able to have access to that hope and enjoy this, beautiful journey. It's challenging, but it's definitely one of the most special things that you can do.
Absolutely. It opens a whole new world of our being, doesn't it? So parenthood.
I agree.
And if that's a wish that you want, let's see how we can make it happen.
All right. Well, hang out with me after the show for a minute. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into the Unplugged podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much for watching the Unplugged podcast with Kallum and Connor from Connekt Coaching. Hope you loved this guest this week as much as we did. Cal?
What we wanted to remind you of is that if you wanted to steal our forever business model, which is perfect for all sorts of businesses around the world to start to build extra revenue in your business right away, get instant access by clicking on the description and going into the link below, watching the 9-minute video where we unpack everything. See you next time.